Welcome to another marvelous episode of College Football Showdown. I am the governor of college football, and with me, as always, is my co-pilot Jalen Wilson. Today is our Big Ten takes over episode, but before we begin, let's talk about this Bill Connolly. He put out a piece on ESPN. Actually, I love kind of everything that Bill Connolly does. I hold him in very high regard, and he made this list of the 25 most important college football players of the 2024 upcoming season. So this is a list, Jalen, that I think he's kind of made almost, I think at least every year since 2020, since I can remember. I'm going to go in reverse order. Most people like to go 25 to 1. I'll actually go 1 to 25. And at some spots he has one players, some spots here and there he does have two players. There's a couple spots I'm wondering, like, okay, you had two players, why didn't you have two players in other spots as well? So, and number one, he has Will Howard, Ohio State quarterback. At number two, you got Alex Orji, Michigan's what seems to be starting quarterback. Number three, Dylan Gabriel, Oregon's quarterback. Number four, Jalen Milroe. Number five, Drew Lar. Number six, Jackson Dark. Number seven, Garrett Nussmeier. Number eight, Cam Ward. Number nine, Donovan Edwards. And we'll kind of start seeing the trend here of the same teams over and over again. Number 11, Kobe Prentice. Number 10, Kobe Prentice. Number 11, Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Smith. Number 12, Dylan Bell, wide receiver, UGA. Number 13, Walton Nolan, Ole Miss, by the way of the transfer portal. Number 14, Isaiah Bond or Silas Bolden. Number 15, Damani Johnson or Deshaun Jones, cornerbacks and/or for Bama. At 16, John Marie Carwell, defensive tackle, Oregon. At number 17, Parker Bellsford, Alabama. Number 18, Kenshawn Junkins. Number 19, Graham Mertz, quarterback of Florida. Number 20, Miller Moss, quarterback USC. Number 21, Haynes King, quarterback of Georgia Tech. I did like that Georgia Tech got some love in there. At number 22, Luther Burden. 23, James Pierce. 24, Mason Graham. 25, Travis Hunter. When you look at this list, Jalen, is there anybody you look at this list and say automatically, okay, why isn't this person on the list? Who's the first person that comes to mind?
Look at the list, make sure they are on the list. That's the program, or is he not? Is he really not on the list? I'm just reading through the list, making sure I ain't skipping over nothing. Yeah. I don't see no Emeka Ibuka unless I'm just blanking.
No, he's not on.
Okay. Yeah. I get Cardinal Tate and Jeremiah Smith will be important because it's like, they're going to be the outside receivers or the X receivers, something like that. So whoever's going to make up for the Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of production. But I mean, Emeka Ibuka is super important because he's supposed to be the leader of that receiving core going into this season. He's supposed to be that guy that's returning from the past two seasons. And the problem is that he didn't stay healthy last season. Like, if I'm not mistaken, it was last season or the season before.
I think it was this past season.
Yeah. And if he struggles with health again, it could really be a problem for Ohio State. That's like a player, like, honestly, I think, was Donovan Edwards? Yeah, Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, Donovan Edwards is on. I think he was at 9.
Yeah, he's at 9. Looking at it right now. I was surprised because I'm hoping I'm not skipping him, but I don't see Shador on here.
No, he's not on there.
I don't see Colorado offensive line on here because Travis Hunter on here. I mean, I feel like Colorado whole offensive line got to be on here.
I think it's perfect.
Drew Alla's on here, but I don't see like a Julian Fleming on here. I don't see a we're gonna talk about him later, but Harrison Walls III, I don't see him on here. Like, those two people are going to be very important for Penn State success because the wide receivers struggled last year. Them two people are going to be very important. Oh, and what's the other wide receiver? Mari Evans. So yeah, those are a couple players. I don't agree with the whole list. Will Howard number one. Don't agree with Alex Orji. Maybe he he just released this, right?
Yeah, no. He just released this. This is literally like 4 days ago where he released this.
It doesn't look like Alex. I mean, it's not clear cut. Alex Orji is even going to start. It sounded like they was going to use him as a wild quarterback, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't like him being at number two. I feel like Jalen Milroe is more important than Will Howard just because of the collection of talent that Ohio State has that can make up for a poor Will Howard game. Especially like Alabama, of course, has talent at Alabama, but I don't think they have the talent on the wide receiver core. Like they're more wide receiver by committee this year than like a number one wide receiver like how it usually is in the past. Even though it was like that more last year as well. Even though Isaiah Bonner Burton has solid seasons. Yeah, it's like Cam Ward, yes, that's important. I was surprised to see Kobe Prentice at 10. That's where like I first looked at the list. I was like, well, I didn't first look at it, but I like took another look at the list from earlier, and I'm like, oh, Kobe Prentice was here when you start reading off names. I was like, I had to think. I was like, yeah, Kobe Prentice needs to be there because he's there. He's like junior. He's going into his senior season. So he will be counting on a lot more. Like, I was just like, yeah, like I feel like this list is solid. Miller Moss, I guess, because we don't know how USC is really going to look fully next season without Caleb Williams. Like we could all be like, hey, Caleb Williams is there. They're going to win 6 games
for sure.
They're going to win 7 games. So, I don't agree with Travis Hunter, unless you want to say the fact that their corners might be a little shaky. So if he suffers another injury this season, which hopefully he doesn't, but if he does, could get bad for that secondary.
All right. So I think when Bill Connolly formulated this list, he formulated it from, like, I was watching a College Game Day featured episode yesterday. I watch a lot of ESPN, but it is what it is. I think he was looking at this from a storyline perspective. If you look at this list, it's from a storyline. Like Garrett Nussmeier could be one of those incredible storylines of this season. If LSU can hit on him,
he's getting lots of hype from fans.
He's getting
media.
He's getting a lot. He get a lot of hype. I mean, but we do have to take into account that their offensive coordinator from last year, Mike Denbrock, is now back in South Bend with Notre
Dame. SEC media cartels.
Yes,
SEC media cartel.
I already know. So think about that. Think about the darling that Jackson Dart can be. I know you said I'm an Ole Miss fan,
I mean, Jackson Dart's good. Jackson Dart's good. I ain't
think about that. Think about Penn State. What they got riding on the line this upcoming season. A lot of their fans are getting upset. Think about Miller Moss. So when I looked at this list at first, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So, think about Miller Moss and what does that mean to Lincoln Riley's legacy if this season, like, they struggle because, you remember back in the day, they used to call like that West Coast style finesse. And, of course, he runs the air raid offense. But, what if they struggle with the physicality that is in the Big Ten and they have, where they're barely fighting for bowl eligibility. So
you look at that in the Pac-12, Utah, Torchstone. Oregon at all.
Physical teams they struggle with, but think about it. Think about it like this: Haynes King is on this list. What was the question you asked Haynes King during SEC media days? And then he jumped up and answered the question.
I asked him about. I said, you're the only guy, and you're in the last 24 years. There's only been like 4 guys that was including him that throw for like I believe it was like 3,500 yards or something. It was a certain amount of stats.
Yeah, certain amount of stats, certain amount of passing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't remember. If you asked me back in Charlotte, I remember because I memorized the question.
You had. And it was Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Gerard Evans.
So I think he's on this list because what type of storyline could Georgia Tech create this year if they're somehow starting to win these games and they're the only non-SEC school that has a top 10, worst strength of schedule in the country? So I think if you look at these names, you start looking at storylines, you'd be like, okay, he's putting together a piece of the puzzle. Everybody want to see what Kalen DeBoer is going to be able to do after the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think that's why we have a lot of Alabama players, because it's like, can Alabama go 9-3? Can they go 8-4? Like, what is their floor? What is their ceiling? So I think a lot of these pieces, and if you look at these names, it's just storylines. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to be one of the storylines of the year.
Somebody should make this list for coaches.
Yeah, I think
including
this list will be
coordinators.
fun for coaches. And then you look at Travis Hunter. The reason he's on this list is, I mean, we said it the other day. Like, we're both rooting for Colorado. We're both watching a lot of Colorado games, but it could potentially be a dumpster fire this year. So, what
Yeah.
type of impact does this have on Deion Sanders as far as him being a coach at the collegiate level? So, I think if you look at it from that perspective, these 25 names, it's just trying to paint a picture as far as the storyline. One person that I wish was added on here was Peyton Thorne, because Auburn could be like one of those. And me and Nino was talking about it the other day. Not that they'll make the college football playoff, or
They could possibly disrupt some teams.
they can disrupt some teams. They can possibly be outside, looking in like, damn, if Auburn would have made a play here, a play there, because they got an immense amount of talent, both offensively and defensively. And I think a lot of it is truly on the shoulders of Peyton Thorne, and can he play boring football? So anything else you want to add? Also, I would have loved to see a group of 5 player on here, whether it's a Caden Salter,
Yeah.
or somebody like that.
That would
But
have been nice.
it would have been nice. But looking at this is a pure storyline. Like, only us sickos really care about, Power 4 and G5 ball. Like, we're gonna be talking about a lot. We're gonna preview a lot of G5 football this upcoming season. I was also thinking, and I'm kind of talking out loud, but kind of putting something in Jalen's mind. I was thinking about doing a variety show once a week, featuring all of the panelists of CFB Nation, doing previews for some games. I think that'd be pretty cool. Anything else you want to add to that subject before we move along?
I can make a case for Luke Ottmeyer on this list, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see. I mean, you could put, I guess, any quarterback on the list technically. But Brett Bielema's hot seat rides on Luke Ottmeyer and the Illinois defense. That's really
an imperative storyline. So, would you like to see a list of about 25 names for each conference? I think that would have been kind of cool.
That would have been.
Then
nice.
Maybe G5 had,
because that would have got to show a lot more love to a lot more people.
But yeah, if you look at these storylines, like, what I'm saying, like Graham Mercer's on here, Billy Napier's,
yeah,
what I'm saying, situation
coaches
is
have this own edition, right? Coaches be included.
And he did something similar earlier, so I think that's why he's not going to do it. So let's move along. Rutgers finished 7-6 last season with a bowl victory over Miami in the Pinstripe Bowl, ranked 123rd nationally offensively last season. Who are the impact players on offense for the Scarlet Knights, Jalen?
Impact players on offense is. Oh, I look like I wrote an essay.
Nah, you good? Do your thing.
So you got Demir Miller, led the FCS in receiving last year, 1,293 yards. How many touchdowns he had? I believe he had 90 receptions. He completely killed it. I mean, that's only going to add on to this. Like, this might be their best receiving core in a couple years. Like, they got Chris Dreamer.
Sure they can't do much worse than 133rd.
Yeah. And Nassim Brantley. So those are going to be the top 3 wide receivers. It's a guy. It's a true freshman on their team. They've been giving him a lot of love. Ben something. Ben something. I thought I had his name written down. But you also got Kenny Fletcher. He looked like he's going to be a starting tight end this season. Moved from DN last season. Shiana said he said he can do everything. He expressed how talented he was. And then you got Sam Brown, who's going to be the backup running back. And I forgot to say the starting running back's last name.
I know who it is, but I can't pronounce it.
But him and Sam Brown,
he's been a dog for a few years. Yeah.
So those are going to be like some real impact players on offense. And like I said, this could be the best receiving core Rutgers had in a while.
So it was kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde act last year. They truly bottom feeders offensively last year, but defensively, Rutgers had the 19th best defense nationally. Looks to have a stout defense this upcoming season. Jalen, who are the key contributors?
So you got Wesley Bailey, Aaron Lewis at defensive end. They don't get home a lot, but they are really good run stoppers. They were really good run stoppers last year. The linebacker might be the best position group on this dang defense. So you got Muhammad Tour and Tyrene Powell, two players returning from last year. I think it was Tor was the one that tore his Achilles. Either Powell tore their Achilles last season, near the end of last season. So they're still kind of on that recovery this season, this off season. But you also got Dario, holy this name, Dejaborn had 15 tackles last season, but they say his role is going to be increased. He's played sparingly these past 2 seasons for Rutgers, but they said this season expect like a little bit of a bigger role, so he's going to be a name to watch. And then cornerback, you got a number 1 corner for them because Max Melton, he left, so now you got Rob Longerbeam. He had an interception last season. I believe he had maybe around like 23 tackles, if I'm not mistaken, is what I remember looking at. He's expected to be a number 1 corner this season, stepping up for Rutgers. Then they got safeties, Shaquan Loyal, Flip Dixon, and Desmond. I'm not even gonna try to say his last name because I can't. But they all combined for like
players in college just like that, bro.
Yeah, they all combined for 205 tackles last season on defense.
I like that a lot. So Rutgers has the 59th toughest schedule in the nation and is returning 72% of their production from last season and avoids games against Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, and Iowa. Jalen, how good can Rutgers be this year?
I was talking to a Rutgers guy at ACC Media Days, and he was like, he wasn't completely sure.
Yeah,
like he was like this could be a really good year. I was thinking, I'm like, man, 7-5 is okay, but I believe 8-4 is like that sweet spot for them. Like,
right? Could we see them possibly go like 9-3?
Yeah, I can see that too.
And like, really make things interesting.
Yeah, like, I feel like a 6-6
that would
season
probably
would be
frustrate. I think that would frustrate some people.
I would be disappointed with a 7-5 season, even with a 6-6 season. Like 7-5 be cool because of Rutgers, and then we hold them to a high standard. But I feel like with the talent that this team has,
and they got a friendly schedule, bro.
Yeah, like I feel like with the talent to schedule, they could I want them to win 8-9 games.
8 or 9 games.
I don't remember if they play us, but I hope that's one they 3 or 4 losses.
Of course. So this is something we certainly got to revisit. But I also talked to somebody at ACC Media Days, and we was just talking back and forth about what we do, and he was familiar with the brand, and he was talking to me about Rutgers' schedule. I was like, it got the wheels turning a little bit. I know offensively they good, but I know defense they was pretty stout. So I'm interested to see. It should definitely be bowl eligibility and not barely bowl eligibility. It'll just be interesting to see how everything lands, because it's no longer divisions. It's the top 2 teams will go and play in the conference championship.
Like, you gotta win. Like, wins are a lot more important now.
Absolutely. The Nittany Lions of Penn State finished last season 10-3 with a disappointing loss in the Peach Bowl to Ole Miss. Nationally ranked 55 offensively. How can Penn State improve on that side of the ball, and who are the impact players to watch?
I mean, Penn State can improve on that side, but Drew Aller, I talked about Drew Aller in the past. I like him, but of course, there's also room to grow with the Drew Aller. So, they got a new offense coordinator.
Andy Kotelnicki. Yeah, Andy Kotelnicki. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
So that's gonna be really important. But like it's all gonna come down to wide receivers, in my opinion. The wide receiver play is going to be super important. Like last year, I think the wide receiver struggled against separation, which hurt. Like if you watch the Ohio State game, the Ohio State DBs was on their tails all game.
Ever.
And it just looked bad. But yeah, some key players for them on offense.
Think about how Michigan beat them last year, bro.
Yeah,
I think they ran the last how many plays of the game? Like they didn't throw the. I don't think they had more than 10 completions. Like 10 passes that game. They just physically beat them in the second half, and then, like you said, it's just wide receivers struggle to get separation. You think that you feel the same way this upcoming year?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, you return like you lost Keandre Lemmer-Smith. I mean, I feel like he left a lot of meat on the bone at Penn State.
Yeah, for sure. Because he flashed at times and was it 2022? Yeah, he flashed.
Yeah. Harrison Wallace is the third, as I said earlier. Julian Fleming and Amari Evans will more likely be the top 3 go-to receivers this season. But the way I look at it as like Harrison Wallace is the deep threat, and that's cool. Julian Fleming, he's a possession receiver. He's not going to be a guy that gets separation. He's not like the most. He's not the greatest against separation. He's not the best route runner. He ain't gonna wow you with crazy speed to get by. Like he's a guy that can like he's like and I mean it's no disrespect, but it's like a N'Keal Harry. Like N'Keal Harry wasn't really crazy good at getting separation, but yeah, he can win the deep ball. He can win a jump ball. And he's more of a possession receiver than anything. Yeah, I don't feel like they addressed the wide receiver room good enough, honestly.
Do you feel like this is a legacy year for James Franklin? Like, well, we start looking at his legacy, and do you all of a sudden start to get that feeling like, yo, here we go again? Because they do have an abundance of talent.
Yeah, they got no when is it all? When is Allen?
So. When is it going to click?
I don't think it. I mean, I guess to get to playoffs this season would be the year, but
is that, you think that's good enough for the faithful? Like, we made it to the playoff.
It all depends on how they will lose in the playoffs.
Okay,
like if they lose, getting blown out, okay. Yeah. But if they lose on like a missed field goal, it's like we thought
that Ole Miss game, like the bowl game last year, was really good. It was like back and forth. Then after a while, like Ole Miss dominated the Peach Bowl. So moving right along, defensively, Penn State had the number 1 defense last year in total defense and wants to continue that trend. Jalen, who are the impact players?
Yeah, I think there was also number 1 tackles for loss last season. Like tackles for loss and maybe sacks, I want to say it was. Impact players on defense. I mean, they got like 3 defensive ends. Jamil Lyons, you got Danny Denton-Sutton, and then you got Dual Carter. Like
he's playing pure edge this year, right?
Yeah, I believe either he's playing pure edge or just gonna be playing mostly edge.
Mostly edge, because he flashed in that Ole Miss game for me.
He did.
I was like, yo, he is sideline to sideline, just making plays, and then I was surprised that they were just going to kind of, just put him on the edge. But I get it with his skill set. They want him to be able to rush the passer, but I feel like he can do more than that.
Yeah. You also got Cam Lillard, our cornerback, who was called upon in that Ole Miss game. He kind of got beat a lot, but he's going to be called upon more.
Everybody got beat that game.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever was checking Caden Prieskorn or lack thereof, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah. Then you got KJ Winston at safety. I mean, I know they talked about like the safety is like probably they're gonna like share snaps this season, but they ain't not KJ Winston. He was honorable Big Ten last season. Like he's gonna look to make the All Big Ten team this season. He's gonna be the safety that doesn't come off the field for Penn State at all. So those are like some real impact players. But I'm really interested to see this defensive line this season.
Yeah. So Penn State has the 33rd toughest schedule in the nation, but returning 67% of their production. Jalen, we kind of hinted at this earlier. I jumped the gun a little bit talking about the overall outlook. How are you feeling about this team this year?
I like them.
Okay.
Feel like they're a good team. Feel like they're the same as last year though. Good defense. Offense is okay. Looks good at times. Our receivers can't get separation, and we lose 2 or 3 games.
I feel like last year they had opportunities to be aggressive in games like versus Michigan and versus Ohio State. And I get it. Wide
They
receivers
did.
struggle to make separation, but at one point,
There were
at
plays where
what
they got separation at times. They just
at
couldn't.
what point do we get comfortable? Like, do we get uncomfortable with like, yo, like, I like you get sick of this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like what point do we get uncomfortable with being little bro?
I mean, I think they're uncomfortable with it now for the most. What did that comment say? Is there anything including?
It said, I think this would be a good season for Penn State. I'm an Ohio State fan. A lot of fans overlooking them. I think that's a great take.
Hey, brother, you don't got to worry about them. Yeah, you're not got to worry about Penn State this season.
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but I think y'all going to beat them again. But yeah, I mean, I think they're not comfortable, but they kind of have to be because they know we're still not good enough. Like,
can I throw you a hypothetical before we move on? And I know we're running low on time. We got 2 more teams to talk about and only got about 15, 16 more minutes to do
it. Go ahead.
But what if Drew Allar, like, we know he's talented. He has an immense amount of talent. We know that some of the inefficiencies offensively isn't because of him. We know they have a loaded running back room, one of the best running back rooms in the country. What if he just lights the college football world on fire this year? Like, does that change your opinion about Penn State, where he's putting up numbers, they're scoring points, they're not only getting it done defensively, but they're also getting it done offensively?
I think it changes my opinion. It would all depend on how they play in a big game for real. But I think it would change my opinion, and I will let my nuts hang on the Drew Allar takes I had this off season.
Okay, like I said, like, you're not the only one that likes Drew Allar. I think a lot of when it comes to him, it's like, people love other quarterbacks, but kind of like,
and he's slowly becoming a Josh Allen of college football.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to that. I believe I've seen this is your first time commenting in here, but I'm sure you've been in here before. Alrighty. Things are getting interesting in Columbus, Ohio. After losing to Michigan for a third straight year, many fans are feeling like it's now or never for the Buckeyes. Ohio State got active in the portal with the likes of a Walker Howard, Kenshawn Judkins, and Caleb Downs, just to name a few. Initially, Ryan Day and company went and got Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator, but he suddenly left and took the BC opening after Jeff Hafley left. And the door suddenly opened for Chip Kelly. We were very critical of Chip Kelly. We felt like he gave up. He really didn't give a damn about recruiting, and he was looking for a way out, whether it was via the NFL. And I think he was just like, you know what, I'm okay with Columbus. Like, it's hard coaching in college football in this day and age, but you gotta want to do it. And I don't like how that lame duck period ended anyway. Jalen, talk to me about some of the impact players offensively for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, so Ohio State, I mean Walker, why not Walker Howard? Will Howard.
I think I said Walker Howard.
Yeah, you did say Walker.
But that's my dog, though. Yeah, Will Howard.
Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Emeka Ibuka. He's going to be called upon for
probably number one. Question: why isn't JT on College Football 25? I know he opted out, but you ever hear why he opted out?
Like who? You talking about defensive end?
Yeah.
He ain't on the team? I haven't played with Ohio State, so I wouldn't know.
You have barely played the game, bro.
I haven't played with Ohio State, so I wouldn't know. But you asked what, like, why isn't he on the game?
Yeah, it was just a sidebar, but continue, bro.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably some reason out there online why he said or why he isn't on the game. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate will be pivotal. We mentioned Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, and Carnell Tate all early in this episode. The whole offensive line, honestly, It's a lot of players. The players are there. The production has yet to, really be there.
It's hard to replace what they lost, via the NFL in 2023. So and that was the topic of discussion heading into spring camp in 2023 when I was listening to the Bucknuts podcast. It was like, yo, like, how are we going to replace these tackles? So you think it's still production like in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it for the offense. I mean, Chip Kelly, we all know he's
How do you feel like you'll be able to scheme up with both of these studs at running back?
I mean, I feel like he'd be able to scheme up something great.
And he was able to use two backs.
Yeah,
at
he
Oregon
was
with like Kenyon Marner and LaMichael James.
Didn't he use two backs a little bit at UCLA with Zach Charbonnet at one point?
Yeah,
it was like
he was
second season there.
Yeah. He was spelled. Charbonnet just always seemed to make a lot of runs, big runs in this game too.
I think it would all depend on how like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, coming along, and whoever else is going to step up in the wide receiver room for them.
Defensively, Ohio State ranked third in total defense, but with key acquisitions in the portal, they're looking even better than ever. Jalen, who are the key players defensively for the Buckeyes?
Tyleik Williams, JT. I was going to say JTT, but he just said he wanted to be called JT. Jack Sawyer. What the comments say.
I'm going to read it to you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Jack Sawyer, JT, Tyleik Williams. No Eichenberg, no Chambers this year. Linebacker will be interesting to watch. But you got Denzel Burke. You got Lathan Ransom.
I thought that would have been an opportunity for Denzel to go pro. Like this
I did
season.
too. I was
surprised he stayed, but I think it would help his stock more than anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do the reverse, like you probably should have went last year. I think it'll help his stock. So shout out to Dot. Love that he's talking in the chat. He said, can't wait to see how they utilize all this talent on offense. Trey and Keyshawn in the same backfield or jet sweeps with Jeremiah Smith and the rest of the wide receivers. They better not be scary this year. So you remember when Fire Ryan Day was trending in 2022? I'm not sure if it trended last year, but in 2022, like,
yes,
dude, they was flaming him on Twitter. Twitter was undefeated with Scott Frost and Ryan Day, and how Tennessee was like the darlings of the college football world that year. But getting back to this, 65% return to production for Ohio State and 16th toughest schedule in the nation. What is the overall feeling about Ohio State this upcoming season? And let's be honest, it's not just beat Michigan. Beating Michigan is a step. It's not the step. Do you think Ohio State fans, and I'm talking to Dot and I'm talking to everybody else listening to this show right now, do you think Ohio State fans will be more comfortable with beating Michigan and an early exit in the playoff because they should have a first round bye if they're able to win the conference? Or do you think they'll be more comfortable with losing to Michigan but somehow winning the national championship? What do you think will make them more comfortable, bro? And I don't think that question is as easy to answer as everybody.
It's not. If I'm a fan, I want to beat the hell out of Michigan. I want to beat the hell out of Michigan. I think it's the first one though, because it's like, bro, we beat Michigan. We made it to the playoffs. Yeah, we won. That was literally 10 years ago.
Right.
It was going on to 10 years. In January, it's going to be 10 years.
For sure. I know what you mean.
So like, it's like we did all this. But since Ryan Day has came in, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, both came through. Both look like crazy good generational quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, Justin Fields gets too much hate. The Bears gonna regret that trade, like I said.
Right.
And more I look at it like, hey, like we did everything, bro. We want the natty again. We this talented. We want the natty again.
Hey, Dot, I appreciate that. He said, man, that's a tough one. LOL. He said, I honestly think fans would rather beat UM if they had to choose. I got to run, though. I'm going to subscribe for you. I love the vibe. Y'all keep growing. Hey, we definitely appreciate it, brother. So, yeah, I wondered that. So let's get into the last team. Jalen, we are at we got about 6 minutes to get through this, so let's get through it. There's got to be a good feeling for Dan Lannon and the Oregon Ducks this upcoming season, leaving the Pac-12 and joining the Big Ten, and the expectations for this team in Eugene are through the roof. Jalen, talk to me about the impact players for Oregon offensively, and let's not forget, I did on this show predict that Dylan Gabriel would win the Heisman. You can go ahead.
So Noah Wellington, running back, Dylan Gabriel, quarterback, Evan Stewart, and then Ted Johnson. Those are like the
they glitch you on NCAA 20.
Yes.
I mean college football 25.
They are.
Yeah, they glitch you on there.
Yeah, this offense looks stacked. I mean, looks tough. I honestly, the more I feel like Ohio State is running her up.
You think Ohio State's runner up, even with the immense talent, even with all the money that they spent in the portal, you believe that this is Oregon conference to win, at least in the regular season, and anything can happen for survive and advance in the 12-team college football playoff. I heard you correctly, right?
Yeah, I mean they spent a lot of money. I mean, shoot, most of us spend a lot of money every day. I mean, they buy designer, buy all these new clothes, new watches, still look ugly.
You sound like paid in full. People that every day be.
But yeah, I mean, Ohio State look good, but I just like Oregon.
You like Oregon
roster more.
At
least offense.
Think about Oregon. We think about where they were at a couple of years ago in Tosh Lapoi's scheme. Yeah. They are really figuring it the hell out. They rank 22nd nationally in total defense, and I think they got room to go up, especially because the Big Ten is a slower pace than the Pac-12, especially offensively. Teams like to run a ball and build off the play action. But speaking of which, how do you think they'll fare in a more physical environment? Because Big Ten is certainly more physical. Also, who are the impact players defensively?
I mean, I think they can fare well. Like Ohio State is known as they're a physical team, even though some people look at them as a finesse team. Like some of the media look at them as a finesse. I'm like, bro, they're not a finesse team. Stop it. Yeah. So like they're a physical team, in my opinion. They can be a physical team. Key players. You got Jeffrey Bassett, linebacker. You also have Jordan Birch, defensive line. He's going to be pivotal in defensive line. I feel like their defensive line struggled to get pressure at times last season, and it kind of cost them, especially against like a game against like Washington. Kobe Savage, transfer from Kansas State, going to be one of the better DBs. I feel like this season, and we all know the DBs need help, especially after losing some key players last season
for sure
to like the NFL draft. Tysheen Johnson, defensive back as well, and then Justin Jacobs, who when he returned last season, transferred from Iowa, when he returned last season for Oregon, the defense looked better. So they're all going to be like pivotal pieces. But honestly, it's going to come down to how the DBs look. It's going to come down to Tosh Lupoi. So
agreed. So how many more minutes we got? We have about 3 more minutes left. Yeah, so returning 69% of their production and the 30 toughest schedule in the nation. What is the overall outlook for the Ducks this season? You do have them winning the Big Ten outright, and you think they'll win a championship as well? Or you think they'll just win the championship?
I don't know.
Okay, you just think that regular season they will win. They will have the best record in the Big Ten.
You're not wait, you talking about Big Ten championship?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. For now, I'm talking about national championship.
Yeah, no. Big Ten championship.
Big Ten championship, yeah.
So Big Ten championship, but you don't know what their outlook looks like in the playoffs. What episode will we be? Week 0 will be here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's top 4 bust for real.
Top 4 bust. Yeah. So week 0, I'll be here in a couple of weeks. We have to make our playoff predictions. We also got to preview week 0, not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. So I'm thinking that Tuesday episode, that Monday episode, not next Monday, the following Monday, we got to announce our playoff pick. Okay. So that'll be pretty cool. So I think they'll definitely make the college football playoff. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick them over Ohio State to win the conference. Couple teams to look out for. Iowa. Another team to look out for is Michigan. I think they can have similar success.
Continue the Illinois hate,
You want Illinois to get some love, bro?
Illinois, hey,
Yeah, I'm an Illinois hater.
Yeah, we actually just released the best jerseys in the Big Ten last night.
Did you? They were fire?
Yeah, they were good. In my opinion, they were good. Steve trying to tell me they suck. They were good.
Hey, Jayla, I would normally let you take us out, but let's get out of here. So I always like to say, I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that's been watching the show. I see we got people watching on YouTube and Twitter. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. If you guys ever want to see the VOD of any of these episodes, you can catch them on YouTube, video episodes on Spotify, and this podcast has been going crazy on Spotify with the videos, as well as iHeartRadio and all the other platforms we on. Until next time, y'all take care. 1.